Welcome back. It's been a while. We're doing another Tim Cain video today. Insults and backhanded compliments. I've never done those.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Today I want to talk about insults
I missed you,
and
Tim.
backhanded compliments. I kind of mean this in a fun way. Not sure this is going to be a fun Friday video or not. You know what? I'll just let it go up whenever it goes up.
That
But
sounds good.
lately I've been going through all my notes, and I guess what I should call my archive now. I was looking for a particular thing, but it's kind of vague, so searching wasn't helping. So what I was doing is I was reading through all my daily notes, the ones I tended to write down at the end of the day, plus some meeting notes. And I take two kinds of meeting notes. I write in a list of topics I want to go over at a meeting.
Oh.
But then frequently when a meeting ends, I'll append to it, and here's some of the responses I got. So
Smart.
I can remember them later. So I was going through those looking for another topic, and I noticed some trends, I should say. I found 8 times that I was insulted in a meeting to my face, and then 3 more times someone asked to meet with me and then gave me a completely backhanded compliment, and they meant well. And I actually asked a friend of mine if I should do this video, and he said, yeah. He goes,
Damn, Tim even kept track of all the insults he got. He's keeping receipts.
the industry long enough, people are going to insult you. Sometimes they're insulting you because
they
maybe
will.
you're acting like a jerk. But
Been there.
more frequently, in my experience, you get insulted because the other person's having a bad day, they're angry, they were surprised at something, or they don't understand something, and you're the punching bag. You're the person they can go at. So let's go through this, and I'm going to talk about it. And for each one, I'll give you some context. I'll tell you what the person said, then I'll give you a little context. So let's start with the insults. By the way, the first 3 are related.
Okay.
I found the first one in my notes. I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this other one. While I was looking for the other one, I found the third one. So let's go through it. The first time I was insulted, the person looked at me and said, you're a temp here at this company. People like you don't stay in the game industry. Do you know what he meant by people like me? Like roguishly handsome programmers? No. He said that because my resume listed my master's degree in computer science. And his opinion
He
was
said that because of that?
academics don't belong in the game industry because they
Oh,
don't
that's
stay in
weird.
the industry because they think they're better than everybody else. And I was like, whoa.
Oh. See, I wasn't going to defend the insult, of course, but I can defend the fact that, yeah, people who are new to the industry tend to not stay in the industry very long. It filters out a lot of people in those early first years, right? But that's a way weirder reason to say that.
Whoa. Okay. This person has some issues. And apparently I was there, so I was going to be
That's a
bear
weird
the
reason
brunt
to say
of his
that.
issue. Related to that was somebody once said, you think you're so smart. And I had no idea where this is coming from. We were talking about a game. And when I asked him, why do you think I'm so smart? And he goes, I saw your resume. Your master's degree is listed on it. And I'm like, yeah. First of all, why were you looking at my resume? I mean, it was just in a folder.
It is kind of weird, isn't
Some
it? Yeah.
network folder. And why
That was
should I not
snooping
put
at
that
your
on there?
resume.
What are you saying I should? You just put that on there because you think you're so smart. And I'm like, I put it on there because I think
He wants a job, and he
years
has
of
it.
being
it's relevant.
academically taught how to code has some relevance to
Yeah.
being a programmer here at a company as a professional. If I left it off, wouldn't that kind of be a misrepresentation?
Well, it also just meant that you would have gotten that for nothing. Like, oh, I got a master's degree. Let me just not show that I have a master's degree for relevant positions. Like, it's not like you were, I don't know, boasting about yourself in some unreasonable way. Also, put it on there because some companies will put you in a different pay bracket. That's absolutely true. Yeah, you're right about that. I've had people say similar stuff, but it's mostly because I will say something about design, and then they will disagree. And I've had them say it before because they think They're like, you just think you're the best designer in the world. I'm like, no, number one. Number two, I'm not. And number three, if the design is wrong, then tell me what we should do instead.
He wasn't having any of it. But the third one is the one that capped this and made me just go, what
Weird
is
stuff.
going on here? Somebody said to me once, we were talking about something, and he said he had actually complimented me on something. Well, let me tell you what he said. He goes, I'm tired of your false modesty. I didn't know what to say. What had happened was we were talking about something, and he had complimented me for picking the right feature. And my response was, well, on that one, I think I just got lucky because there were 2 or 3 features we were banding around, and I did that one, and it worked, and it was good. So that whole thing about false modesty, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Was he like trying to say that? Was it like a really bad way to say you don't need to be so modest? It was a good decision? Because it does sound like it sounds exactly like a backhanded compliment. Like, are you insulting me? Are you?
I'm glad that feature ended up in the game, and I was the one who put it in, but it
could have gone wrong.
I just picked it. Of the 3, I thought I'll do that one first. I mentioned it later on. I mentioned it to a coworker, and he said, I can explain it to you. He takes credit. He makes sure everybody gives him credit for things, and he likes to take credit for some things he doesn't do. So the idea of anyone being humble doesn't even cross his brain. So he thinks you're lying to make people double down and go, oh no, you were really smart on that. He thinks you're lying and pushing back so you can get a double compliment. I'm like, okay, but he didn't compliment me again after that. And he goes, because he thinks he's on to you. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Yeah, what do you even do in that scenario? Like, it's like, sure. Yep, you're on to me. You got me.
The fourth insult I found, and I think I mentioned this in another video, but I couldn't find it. Somebody passed me in a stairwell and just stopped and angrily said to me, what's the color of the sky in your world? And I went like, whoa. I asked him what the problem was, and it was because someone had just gotten fired who was a friend of his. I think I've told this story vaguely before. I'll tell it really quickly, vaguely again.
Understandable.
One day, it was towards the end of the day, I was working on something. A producer came in, let's call him Bob. And Bob said, hey, I need you to do this task for me. And I said, okay, what do you want done? And he explained it. And I said, that'll take me a couple days. Have you talked to my boss? And he said, yeah, I talked to your boss and he approved it. And I said, well, I'll finish up what I'm doing now. Tomorrow morning, I'll start on it. So I should have it end of day after tomorrow. He goes, okay. And he left. I wrapped up. I was leaving. The way I left took me right by my boss's office. The exit door was right next to his office. And he was sitting at his desk. So I just said, hey, just to let you know, I finished this and this today. But now for Bob, I'm doing Bob's task for the next 2 days. And he just looked up and went, what task? And I said, this thing for Bob. He told me he ran it by you and you approved. He goes, I haven't talked to Bob about anything like that. And I said, well, he told me to work on it the next 2 days. He said, don't do that. Work on the tasks I gave you. So I went home.
Okay.
Next day, at the end of the day, a lot of people were fidgeting and stuff. And I asked people what was going on. And they said Bob had been let go. He'd been fired. And I went to my boss and I asked what happened. And he said he went to the executive producer to complain about Bob trying to take one of his people, me. I was a programmer for this guy, to get him to do other work. And it turns out that was the third big complaint against Bob that had happened. There were 2 other producers who had had 2 different complaints about him. All of these ended up going into HR. And when my boss complained, HR said, well, this is the 3rd time we've gotten a complaint about this guy in the last 2 months. So he was let go. Now, the guy who yelled at me in the hallway was basically mad at me because he was like, you got him fired and you don't even think you're responsible. And when I was like, I don't understand. All I did is tell my boss, hey, I'm going on to Bob's work tomorrow. And that started a chain of events that Bob started. And that's when he was like, you don't understand anything. That was why he said, what's the color of the sky in your world? He was like, you don't see anything for what it is. You got Bob fired. I'm sorry. To this day, I don't really think I got Bob fired. I think Bob lied to me. And when I happened to pass that lie on to my boss, everything unraveled for Bob.
Yeah, he was just, I'm going to do this thing that said we needed to do, and see you tomorrow. I agree. I don't think Tim did anything wrong. He exposed the thing that shouldn't have been happening in the first place, but he didn't do it maliciously. He didn't do it purposefully. He just accidentally exposed this thing that shouldn't have been going on.
I don't feel bad about Bob, and I don't think I should, but that's the context for that.
That's crazy.
After Fallout shipped, let me get to the I think this is the 5th one. After Fallout shipped, it was doing really well. And I think I've mentioned on this channel, I was told repeatedly, it's a grade B title, get it out so we can throw you on D&D. But towards the end, all the people were getting really excited about it, and then it shipped and it was doing really well. It was getting great press. They kicked off a sequel even before it shipped. I had another producer come by and goes, I hear you being happy about this, but careful, you're getting too used to early success. It's going to your head. And I remember I just looked at him and I said, okay, Fallout's my 4th game in my career. This is the 2nd company I've worked at in my career, and my career is already 16 years old. What are you talking about, early success? And do you also mean I can't be happy about this?
Yeah, it's like the game was successful. It's not like before the game launched, he was, I don't know, putting, nailing nails up on the wall to hang the plaques that he knew he was going to get in the future. It was literally doing well. Is he not allowed to be happy that it's doing well?
Because I'm damn happy about it, and I'm really proud.
Absolutely,
of this game.
You should. Fuck yeah.
He was like, you're getting used to this success. And I'm like, okay. Related to that, about 3 years later, when I was at my own company, putting out its first game, Arcanum, somebody called me from the Fallout OG team and said, you need to stop resting on your laurels. And he was angry. This wasn't like, hey, you should stop doing this. He was like, you need to stop resting on your laurels. Took me a minute or two talking to him to make him tell me what he was talking about. It was because an ad had just come out from the publisher of Arcanum that mentioned Fallout, said from the creators of Fallout.
It's like, I'm sure Tim is there in every marketing meeting saying, yeah, make sure to put that this is from. It's just so weird.
And he was mad that we would do that. And I was like, well, it's a publisher wanted to do that, but it's not false. And Arcanum and Fallout are very similar. And
you do that for guarantee. You do that because it shows that you can trust these people. Like, hey, did you like this game? You will also like that. You might also like this game, right? It's just to build trust with people so that they can say, oh, we just watched the Game Awards. How many of those new trailers, like new IPs or new studios, they said from people who used to work here and here. You do that so you know that they have established history in the industry and you know what games they worked on. That's just standard.
Well, you're just resting on your own. You're just gonna rest on Fallout the rest of your career. And I'm like, I don't want to. That's why I'm making a new game.
Yeah, if he was resting on his laurels, he wouldn't make something
but
new.
He didn't want any of that. He was just like, you're
Weird.
resting on your laurels. And I'm like, okay. By the way, same guy. Resume came through. Bet your biddy Fallout was on it and all the stuff he had done on it. And the next one was, I had somebody tell me once that you just have book learning smarts, but no common sense. I've actually heard this from a couple people in the industry, and also someone in my family. And at the time, I was like, I've been in the business now more than 20 years in the game industry, and my degree was computer science with a specialty in AI. It's applicable, but I don't think everything I know can be tracked back to that. Plus, I was running a company, something I'd never been trained to do, and I didn't think I was that good at. But I don't know. I think I do have some common sense, and I don't know where that comes from. I think it's excuse me. I think people just assume I'm going to be a lot more academic than I am.
Maybe, I don't know. I think that this happens to everybody though, is they receive these sorts of criticisms or whatever that aren't even based in anything that's going on at the moment. I think people try to think that they can understand you, but they don't.
Casual, but I've heard that before. And then the last one, and I know I've mentioned this one in one of my Wildstar videos, was the time
Rip Wildstar.
an artist at Carbine came into my office, sat down on the other side of my desk, and just said, "I heard you suck at design." And I was so taken aback. That was the most direct insult to my face insult I think I've ever gotten.
Why did he do that
And
though?
this was from an artist who had never designed anything, who had heard it from an artist who had never designed anything, who never knew what I had worked on in the past or what my roles were on those things.
I
Because
mean, but this was at Wildstar. This was after he had worked on so many games. Temple, Arcanum, Fallout, Vampire.
I asked him. In fact, when I asked him where this was coming from, he just goes, "Look, I'm just telling you what I heard." And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't think I suck at design, but if you have no design experience and I've got some, you could say some of it's good and some of it's not. I don't know what to tell you.
What was he
it
doing?
It was one of those things where I'm like, I think you're being manipulated and you don't even know it. This whole "I heard" stuff, you hear this in politics a lot. I heard. It's when somebody wants you to believe something because they want to believe it, but it's what some third party really, really has a reason for making people want to believe it. And that's when I went, okay, what's going on? And we talked for a while, and it was an interesting talk. But because I know when I mentioned it in the Wildstar, somebody said, "Why didn't you take that guy to HR?" And I'm like, that wouldn't have solved anything.
Well, it's the only. I don't really like doing shit with HR, but it's just weird that he like came in looking for a fight or something. Like, what was the point of it? It wasn't even to disagree with a recent design decision, because of course, that's understandable, right? It's not like design is a settled science or anything. But what was the point of just walking into a provably talented designer, somebody who has created successful titles in the past, more than most designers ever have in their life, and they wish. I think any designer wish they had the storied career and experience of Tim Kaine, and walk into his office and say, "I heard you suck at design." I might have gotten that phrasing wrong, but that's essentially what he said. That's weird.
I also found 3 times I got complimented in a very backhanded fashion. The first one was, "You have a good personality for a programmer." This is a boss who actually was trying to compliment me.
That's pretty funny.
Because he thought I was running a team really well. And he just wanted to tell me that. But for some reason, he felt like he had to say, "Well, you're good personality, but, compared to other programmers," which made me go, has he ever hung out with programmers? Some of them are, crazy funny people. But anyway.
I've gotten ones like, I got one that was a compliment and the exact same thing said to me by somebody else that was an insult. Or, I could tell that they were like, they didn't like that aspect about me. Like, I've had, a couple people say, "You're very passionate about game development and gaming," as like a compliment. Great. And it's awesome to hear people recognize that about me. And I've had other people say that to me in a negative way because they don't like that I am trying to make good games, or I am open to confrontation if the end result is trying to make the game better. because they'd rather just have a smoothly sailing company without any sort of issue, right?
Another one I get, and I get this from everyone. I get this from coworkers. I get this from friends. I get this at conferences. You're taller than I expected. And I never know what to do with that. Because first of all, why did, I'm 6'1". Well, now I'm 6. You shrink when you get older, kids, which sucks because it makes my BMI score go up. I don't know what that means, though. What do you mean you thought I would be shorter? Do I look like a short man?
I think that Tim. Okay, Tim. This is not an insult, but I think that sometimes people think that somebody who's a bit rounder is also shorter. But there are just men that are stocky, that are big, and Dan's Gaming. Okay, Dan's Gaming has the same thing. Dan's Gaming is like 6'3" or something. That guy is tall. And I think that he might receive similar things. It's not an insult. I'm not insulting you, Tim. But I could see that, I'm shorter than you, right? I'm like 5'10" or something. I wouldn't say it, but I would look at you and be like, damn, that's a tall dude.
Or do I act like a short man? Or just, what are you saying? I mean, I don't think I give any impression of my height. I'm sitting in a chair here.
Okay, Tim. Here's what I can say. I did work with somebody who said to me, you're shorter than I expected. Okay? Let's just say I think that one is a bit more insulting than you're taller than I expected. But if we even out our insults, we are of average height, okay?
Photographs I'd see of myself online is me sitting in a chair. I don't know. I've never known what to do with this one. And then a similar one is, I've heard this from a few people. You're better looking in person. And I mean, I've heard this from so many people that I'm like, what does it mean? I've asked people, what do you mean by that? And somebody said, oh, I think your face is animated. In photographs, you come across a little, I really don't know what to do with that, because it makes me go, should I try to do something different when I photograph? I don't know. I
just think some people aren't photogenic.
But anyway,
I'm not photogenic.
I thought you guys would have fun hearing that. And I have 2 lessons for you to take from all this.
Okay.
1, sometimes people will say things to you because they're angry or surprised, or they're just not thinking it through. So it's okay.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
If you're in the industry long enough, you are going to get insulted to your face. And it's okay. It's okay. If you think there's an element of truth in there, see if you can fix yourself. But many times it's got to just be people who are just angry. And then the second thing, if you're like me and you take detailed notes, be careful what you write down, because years later you're going to read it.
I don't take nearly as detailed notes as I should. I don't know if I would write down insults that I've heard, though. I hate people. That was a good video. Yeah, you get a lot of shit in the industry. I can say that. Like, I don't have anywhere near the same amount of experience that Tim has, but I've heard some really stupid stuff. And it's usually from people that I clash with from like a passion standpoint. Like, these are people that are in the industry for like the business side. They don't give a shit about games or gamers. I just naturally clash with people like that more than anyone else. At least for the passionate people, I don't think I've ever been insulted by people who love gaming, because we might disagree about things. We might have really emotional disagreements. But at the end of the day, we both recognize that we want the same thing. And so we just don't have a need to insult each other. I also work with a lot of autistic people or people on the spectrum, and insults just aren't part of it. I do like my autistic friends. Sometimes hard to talk to, but did you watch trailer for what is that? We can check that out. Okay, this will be the end of this. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Before we get off track with random ass games, thanks for watching that one.